Allow yourself to become comfortable now, and for these next few moments, there is absolutely nothing you need to work out. Just this moment. Take a slow, comfortable breath. Your mind can begin to discover that it doesn't have to manage everything either. Imagine for a moment that your mind is not something trapped inside your head. Imagine it as a vast landscape. Enormous, open, spacious. And thoughts are simply things that move through that landscape. Some are light, some are heavy, some arrive loudly, some disappear almost before you notice them. But none of them are the landscape. You are the space in which they appear. And perhaps you've spent so long listening to every thought that your mind learned that every thought required your attention. Every worry needed investigating. Every uncomfortable feeling meant something was wrong. And your deeper mind can learn something new now. A thought can simply pass. Nothing else has to happen. A thought appears and disappears. And somewhere underneath all of them is something extraordinarily quiet. You, the part of you that notices, and that part of you does not need to fight with your mind. Because perhaps your mind was never your enemy at all. Perhaps it became an overworked protector, scanning and searching and predicting and comparing, because somewhere along the way it learned that vigilance might keep you safe, and you can thank that part now. Thank you. You have worked very hard, and perhaps it can rest. Imagine an old guard who has stood at the gates for years, watching for danger day and night. Eventually, someone comes and gently places a hand on their shoulder and says, "Your shift is over. You can rest now." And notice what happens when the guard finally sits down. The gates remain standing. You remain safe. Life continues, but the constant watching begins to soften. Your mind is learning a completely different way of being. It is learning that silence is safe, stillness is safe, having nothing to do for a moment is safe, being alone with yourself is safe. And slowly, naturally, your attention begins to notice different things. The temperature of the room, light coming through a window, your breath, your body. Ordinary life begins to become interesting again because your attention is returning from an imaginary future into the only place life has ever actually happened. Here. And perhaps you can imagine thousands of tiny pathways inside your brain. Some pathways have been traveled many thousands of times. Worry, comparison, scarcity, prediction, searching, judging. They became familiar simply because they were traveled frequently. And now another pathway begins to strengthen. Presence, peace, curiosity, possibility, self-compassion, trust. Every time you notice yourself thinking and gently return to the present, you travel this new pathway. Every time you allow a thought to pass without following it, you travel this pathway. Every time you notice something beautiful, however small, you travel this pathway. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, you travel this pathway. And repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity becomes automatic. And what once required effort begins happening naturally. Your mind begins to understand to notice what is good. A morning sky. Music. A cup in your hands. Another chance. Another idea. Another day you've never lived before. And your mind begins becoming interested in what is here rather than constantly measuring what is missing. There may still be things you desire. Of course there are. You are alive. You can want greater prosperity, adventure, love, freedom, purpose, and opportunity while still inhabiting this moment fully. You don't have to postpone being alive until everything arrives. And something extraordinary happens when you understand that. The future stops holding your peace hostage. You can want more and enjoy now. You can dream and rest. You can desire and appreciate. You can become and already be enough. And perhaps your mind has been asking one question repeatedly: what's wrong? So naturally it kept finding answers. Now another question begins appearing spontaneously: what's good here? Not because everything is perfect, simply because your attention deserves access to the whole picture. What's good here? What's interesting here? What's possible here? What might surprise me? What could I create? What would feel nourishing today? What is life showing me that I couldn't see before? And your brain begins searching for those answers. You begin noticing possibilities, ideas, connections, moments, small openings, things you previously walked past, because the same extraordinary mind that once became skilled at finding problems can become skilled at noticing possibilities. If an old thought appears, that's okay. You recognize it. Ah, an old pathway. And instead of climbing aboard it, you allow it to continue without you. Like watching a train leave a station when you have decided you're not traveling that direction today. There it goes. And something begins becoming wonderfully clear. You can have a thought without becoming the thought. You can experience sadness without becoming a sad life. There is a whole inner world within you that hasn't disappeared. Creativity, humor, wisdom, tenderness, faith, imagination, curiosity, strength, love. And perhaps some of those parts have simply been difficult to hear beneath all the mental noise. As the noise becomes less important, those quieter parts become louder. And maybe God was never asking you to manufacture constant happiness. Perhaps you can simply become still enough to recognize, I am here, you are here. This moment is enough for this moment. Every when, every how, every what if. You don't need to know the route from here. You simply allow yourself to say, God, I give you what I cannot solve today. Show me the next step when I need to see it. And feel how much lighter one step is than an entire lifetime. One day, one decision, one moment, and now something even deeper begins changing. Your relationship with yourself. Because you are the person you wake up with every morning, the person who accompanies you into every room, the person who has carried you through everything you've survived, and you begin treating that person differently, like you would your best friend. Your inner voice becomes warmer, more patient, more encouraging. Not falsely positive. Kind. When something hurts, come here. We'll handle this. When something frightens you, we'll take one step. When you make a mistake, we're learning. When uncertainty appears, we don't know yet. When something wonderful happens, let me actually feel this. And slowly, your own company begins to feel different. You become someone you enjoy being with. Your mind becomes somewhere you can sit, somewhere you can breathe, somewhere ideas can grow, somewhere God can speak quietly, somewhere humor can return, somewhere dreams can form without becoming demands. Somewhere there is room, and perhaps one day soon you'll suddenly notice that several minutes have passed and you weren't analyzing anything. You were simply living, and then perhaps longer, and longer, and you don't need to grab that piece or worry about keeping it, because you're learning the way back. Here, your breath, your body, this moment, and each return strengthens the pathway. Your mind learns through repetition. Here is safe. I am good company. My thoughts can move freely without controlling me. My attention belongs to me. I notice what is here. I notice what is good. I notice possibility. I trust myself with today. And something inside you begins to settle into the beautiful understanding that you don't need to escape yourself. Because there is a home inside you, a quiet place underneath all the thinking. It has always been there, and every day it becomes easier to find, feeling hopeful without needing evidence first. And whenever that happens, you allow yourself to receive it, and you let yourself have it. Moment by moment, experience by experience, your brain begins collecting evidence that being alive contains goodness. Your inner world becomes gentler, quieter, more spacious, more creative, and more yours. The old pathways can fade simply through being traveled less often. The new ones become wider and easier, and eventually you may realize something has changed. The voice that once dominated your mind has become background noise, and another voice has become familiar. Calm. Ways. Warm. Grounded. Faithful. Your own. And it says, we're okay. Let's see what today brings. Let those words settle deeply. Let's see what today brings. There are chapters of your life you haven't experienced yet, people you haven't met, conversations you haven't had, places you haven't stood, ideas you haven't thought, opportunities you cannot currently see, laughs you haven't laughed. prayers whose answers you cannot yet recognize. Your current circumstances cannot tell you the ending of a story that is still being written. So you release the need to know. You return to today, and today, your mind becomes a little softer. Today, your attention becomes a little freer. Today, you become a little more at home inside yourself. And tomorrow, the pathway strengthens again. Peace begins to feel like home. My mind is my home. I am safe in my own company. There is goodness around me. There is possibility ahead of me. My inner voice grows kinder every day. Stillness feels comfortable. Ordinary moments feel alive. My mind knows how to rest. I trust the unfolding of my life. And perhaps the greatest shift isn't that you never have another difficult thought. Perhaps the greatest shift is discovering that a difficult thought can knock on the door, and you don't have to invite it in for dinner. You remain home. You remain yourself. You remain here. And your mind becomes more and more a peaceful place to be.